Audio's live, but is our video live?
It's about to be. Man, you're not supposed to call it out. I say that and then I switch it, and that's our official switch. You stay shut up, but now that's all live. So hello, everyone.
Hello, computer.
Hello, computer.
Hello. Hello, computer.
Hello,
Computer. Hello, computer. Just continuously get more and more mad.
That's what he does in the show. Does he? No, he just keeps being like, "Hello, computer."
No, he gets like he's like screaming at the end when it's like dark out and everyone's gone home.
I'm gonna have to Oh, you mean like at the end credits clip?
Yeah.
Reference to IT Crowd, by the way.
Oh yeah. One of my favorite sitcom of all time.
Oh yeah. So welcome, no one or someone or somebody watching later down the road. This is our fireside chat. We're talking about Bahubali. Rob, can you tell us what Bahubali is about?
Oh my god. Buckle in because you're in for a ride. Alright, so I'm going to start off by doing a little bit of an introduction. So Bahubali is one of India's most successful films of all time. It was released on July 9th, 2015. The movie, it's two movies technically, but I really think it's supposed to be one. There's the beginning and the conclusion in the titles. But on IMDb, the first movie has a score of 8.1. The second movie has a score of 8.2. And on Rotten Tomatoes, the first movie has 89% actually, and the second movie has 86%. So it's actually very well critically received. So, as I said, it's one of the highest grossing films in India. So to give you an idea of it, the first movie grossed about $101 million. Second movie grossed about $257 million, which is actually the second highest grossing movie of all time in India. So this movie's yeah. So I mean, honestly, compared to Endgame and Avatar and all that, like, do you know how much Endgame made?
Well over $1 billion.
Oh, close to 3. Yeah. Yeah. So. But if I was a producer and that was the outcome, I'd be very, very, very happy with that. And this is almost kind of like their Iliad. This story that the movie's based on is actually based on one of their two ancient epics, kind of like the Iliad, the Odyssey kind of thing. So this movie is based on, a lot of their ancient culture and all that. So let's dive right into it. So I think the way I want to talk about this is I want to kind of break down both movies and then give down our overall thoughts.
Okay, sure.
So the first movie is called The Beginning. By the way, all these are on Netflix, and you might be overwhelmed with how many choices there are because this movie was filmed in 2 different languages, actually, and then it was dubbed into 2 more, which I'm curious about the choice of that. So do you remember what version you watched?
No clue. I did notice that there was the multiple different versions, and I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah, so what's interesting based on my research is the film was actually shot in both Telugu and Tamil. So I think actually when they filmed it, they did one language, stopped it, and then they did another. And they did like the same scene in a different language, and then they dubbed it over.
That seems pretty crazy to have to refilm it. I would want to watch them side by side to be like, he blinked in that one.
Yeah, dude. Like, that's also one thing too that is just doing research for this is India is a huge fucking place. Like, India is enormous, and the fact of the matter is they have 4 native languages, right? Like, I think China has 2, right? Mandarin and was it Cantonese? I think are the 2 language. I could be totally wrong, by the way.
Don't ask me. But I don't want to make an ass out of myself.
Right.
I do that enough already.
Yes, and yeah. and people can correct me, but India has 4. So
it's a lot.
The fact that this movie had, so, when you film a movie, that's gotta be a tough choice. I mean, I guess Hindi is the most spoken language, like majority, but they didn't film it in that, and I'm kind of curious why. But anyways, so, yeah, I think I originally watched the Telugu version, which I think was one of the main ones. Telugu and Tamil were the two, and hopefully I'm saying... I do
recall
Telugu,
seeing that after the fact, those other versions. I was definitely well into the second movie. I watched the first one in English, just because I was feeling a little lazy. Didn't want to be reading subtitles. But the second one, I believe I watched the Hindi version.
Right. So let's get into it. So actually, I want to ask you, because this has kind of been my first experience into Bollywood and Indian films. I never watched Slumdog Millionaire or anything. I know that was a big one that came to the States a while ago. How are you with foreign films?
Hit or miss. Basically hit or miss. So I don't watch a lot. But I used to watch a lot of anime, a bit of a weeb. So I'm used to subtitles and, balancing, looking at the screen and looking at the bottom of the screen and trying to understand the cultural differences.
Honestly, like, a lot of the acting and a good amount of this movie definitely gives me, like, strong, Eastern vibes, like very anime, over-the-top acting kind of thing, which is part of the charm for this movie that I really liked, to be honest, because...
Really?
So anyone who's watching this either on YouTube or the stream, chances are, if you've been on Tumblr or Reddit, you have seen at least a GIF of this movie, because there are some over-the-top fucking things. The reason I actually found this movie is because I saw the GIF of the tree catapult. The guys who bend back the palm trees.
And the second movie just escalated into just ridiculousness, by the way. Like, I know you love it, but I have a lot of problems.
Oh man, no. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. So, right, the first movie, it starts off pretty slow, right? You have this woman being chased, she's got a baby, dudes with swords are coming after her. She ends up losing them or killing them, and she goes into the river and she holds up to the baby. She prays to Shiva, and somehow miraculously the hand holds the baby until reinforcements
even though she's pretty much been drowned and dead. She's just a hand
right
holding a baby. Just like
right off the bat, that sets the tone for this movie. I think better than most other movies.
I don't think it sets it enough, though. It's really like, it's wow.
So when I told you to watch this, did I kind of tell you in the vein why I enjoyed this so much?
No. You may have said it. I know you originally pushed it in Discord chat a lot, and I just kind of I perused the text of watch Bahubali, and then everyone else being all like, "Yeah, it's so good!" Oh, after they watched it, I'm like, "All right, fine."
Yeah, it's like. The movie definitely isn't going to win any acting awards, but I look at it the same vein as I did Army of Darkness. Like, its entertainment value is off the roof. And that's how I'm kind of seeing it. So...
Okay.
Yeah,
with that in mind, sure.
So, this baby gets rescued by this tribe that, lives at the bottom of a waterfall, right? And... This child that grew up, his whole obsession is to climb the waterfall, and eventually he gets the strength to do so because he found a random mask that fell down the waterfall, right? So when he gets the strength to, we open up to our first music number. What did you think? When the music video started.
I mean, I expected it at some point, so I wasn't like, oh boy. I was kind of like, oh boy, but it was expected, so I was just like, okay.
So, I have to say, one opinion I do have of the first movie over the second movie is the music of the first movie I thought was better. Dude, I'm not even gonna lie, I have the soundtrack on my phone, and like, if I just need to pick me up during my day, like I'm about to jump in the shower, I put on that waterfall climbing song.
That's okay. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, he climbs this waterfall. What did you think of his branch sonic spring? Like when he jumps on the branch to lift him up in video game physics style.
I knew it was all downhill from there.
What? I'm starting to get a feel you didn't like this movie.
I thought it was okay. I'm not as thrilled by it as you are.
Oh man.
I'm the opposing opinion here. I'm not calling it crap, okay? It wasn't a crap movie.
Well, maybe
I definitely think they've come a long way.
All right. So, he gets to the top of the waterfall and he finds there's this battle going on, and this is kind of like the part where it gets a little weird because this dude basically starts stalking the woman who he's having hallucinations about, right? The person who synced him to motivate him to get up the waterfall.
Right.
And he starts like drawing on her, like literally he like lets down a snake so she doesn't move or whatever, so he can draw on her.
Right.
And then
creepy.
Yeah. And then they have a musical number to kind of, show that, oh, you're a woman and I'm a man kind of thing. And then they have that awesome, like, Indiana Jones insane snow escape.
It's yeah.
It's incredible. It's so incredible. Like, I feel like if I just had a ton of money, this would be the movie I would make in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Very D&D-esque kind of logic.
Yeah.
Right.
So I had some issues with some of the special effects and some of the sounds. I don't.
I think actually low-key one of my favorite parts of the movie. So you're introduced to the main villain, Baladeva, who's played by Rana Dagubati. And the opening scene you see of him to get him over as kind of, the big heel is he's in this kind of arena and this bull is here. And, he wrestles this bull, and then on the bottom it says, like, animal is CGI, no animal has got hurt. And you're like, well, no shit.
Yeah, because they do some ridiculous things. Like, these dudes, like, they're just like, I'm just going to casually pick up this entire huge wagon and just fling it into people. Like the Hulk.
Well, here's interesting. Do you actually know what Bahubali means?
No, what is the meaning of it?
It means man with strong arms.
Yeah, but that's, like, real strong.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about Hercules, right?
No, I get it. It's supposed to be like a mythology type of thing. It's it's crazy.
Oh, it's crazy, but that's why I love it. I love and live for shit like this, I love, like, here's the thing, is I love really high quality movies, right? And then I love
really low quality movies.
Well, I love B movies. And I think when a movie is aware of itself, because honestly, I enjoy the story of it. I like the acting of it. And also I think it has some of the craziest battle scenes of all time. But I'll get into that with movie 2. Sure. Maybe this movie would have been easier if I was like, go into it with D&D logic in mind. Like, you're the director, DM, and the characters in this movie are your players.
Sure.
Right? Like, people roll nat 20s on crazy things. They come up with stupid ideas, but they roll well.
Right.
So you just... It's like, yeah, I'm going to attach, this carpet to a catapult ball, and we're gonna launch it and set it on fire.
Yeah, and I'm gonna ride this ship into this wave just so it becomes an airship. Yep. Which happens in the second movie.
It does. It's incredible.
And I'm just like, oh, the ship's in the air. It's okay. It's still in the air. Oh, there's birds. Oh, there's horses in the clouds. What is happening? It's still in the air. Oh, it's just in the air now. It flies. And we're not talking like a little robo. It's like a full-on sailing, like a ship.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good, man. And he basically learns of this cause's mission, and he goes to Mashamati, I think is the name of the city. I know. Mahishmati. That's what it is.
Yes.
And
I couldn't say it, but I was waiting for you.
Yeah, right. Like that's like one thing is we're getting used to saying names that we don't actually know, and so he goes to free the queen, right? The supposed queen, who ends up being his mother, and he learns all of this stuff, and I think also another part that I don't super care about the pacing of the story is how it becomes another movie towards the end.
Yeah, and then the whole first part of the second movie is still that same secondary story, which is more of like a prequel situation.
Right, which is why I think it was intended to be one long movie, but the creators at some point in time decided like we have to make it 2 movies, right? And I think to myself, and granted, I've seen this movie 6 times, so I've had a lot of time to really break it down. I was like, well, should they have done the past scene in the past and then do the present, or what that. And truth be told, I think it's actually fine the way they did it once you get the whole scheme of things, to be 100% honest.
It's weird because they spent a good chunk of the first movie in this initial story, and then they switched to the like 25 years ago story or whatever it was. And I kept in the course of the movie expecting them to go back to that first story, and they never do. Not during the first movie at all. And then the second movie starts, and it's right into that secondary story again, and that just goes on and on and on and on and on until like the last half hour, right, of the second movie, and then it finally catches up to the present day again, and they finish the story with an epic battle.
Yeah. So, Allie, welcome to the chat. We gotta hydrate. Yeah, so again, I'm interested to talk about our overall thoughts, because I think we have actually a discussion to have, which is great. Mm-hmm. So it ends up going into the past, where you learn that the queen's sister at the time, she died giving childbirth. So basically, the queen is raising 2 children. She's raising Bahubali and Baladeva.
Asshole.
Yeah, asshole. And I think they do a pretty good job putting over how much of a good guy he is
compared to his brother.
Well, even compared to his brother, he doesn't really start getting fucked until,
or I guess technically his cousin, right?
Yeah,
but he's raised as his brother in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so they call each other brother, but technically they're that. But you never actually think that, right?
Right now.
So yeah, they pretty much find that they are equals in pretty much every single way, shape, or form,
except personality.
And, yeah, their skills though, right?
Skill-wise, yeah.
Warriors. They're both good in statecraft and all that. So then we go into the big battle. The battle of giant flying flaming carpets.
Go ahead.
So you're sighing.
No,
so
go ahead.
You're sighing. So the importance of this battle is, they're trying to decide who should be the next king of Mahishmati. And
right.
They're equal, so, they decide to make a game. Whoever kills the general of the enemy army will become king. So, yeah, let's talk about this. So, Billy, were you ever a fan of the game Dynasty Warriors?
Perfect reference. Yes, I loved Dynasty Warriors, and this is very Dynasty Warriors. One major hero unit, and you're just sweeping crowds of bad dudes with your special weapon.
Dude, that's immediately when I saw Baladeva's weapon, the giant pop that gets swung around.
Yep. And they just take out bad dudes in droves.
So yeah, they both kind of have their own strategies, right? And then they have the middle being protected by this like insane fucking shield wall where they just literally just rapidly poke.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Which is incredible. So I guess here's the thing, because you decided, what did you think of this battle scene?
That one was actually okay. I thought that one was entertaining. I'm just recalling some of the weaker CGI moments in it.
Yeah, and here's the thing, is maybe I'm a little more forgiving to it, just because I know Bollywood probably doesn't have the resources that Hollywood does, and, when you look at something like the Avengers,
I feel like
Avatar...
So the quality of the movie is actually really good, and in fact, it's very impressive. It's when those weak moments pop in, it's more obvious because of the contrast between the strong portions of it and the kind of parts that are like, oh, that's obviously a. Yeah,
I guess that's fair, and I probably have the same opinion first. But once kind of that goes over, and you rewatch it another time, I think you'll find that it's not as intense. On top of that, the movie wanted to keep the PG-13 rating, right? So when Baladeva has his chariot, his Dynasty Warriors chariot,
they want to keep it PG. They behead a dude.
Actually, I'm not actually sure what this movie. I think it was not rated on Netflix.
They don't adhere to the same system that the States do.
Yeah, so it's not rated. Yeah, I mean, I'd probably give it a PG-13. I think that would...
I don't know.
I mean, don't forget, violence isn't a big deal. It's the sex thing, and there's not a lot of sex in this movie, so...
Which is ridiculous.
Right. So, yeah. Who wins the battle?
I'm trying to remember. So I watched the first one a few months ago, and then I watched the second one more recently. So remind me who exactly wins that? Bahubali, right? Or he tried?
Yeah.
No.
So Bahubali, he gets these again. Just this game, just talking about this battle is making me want to play Dynasty Warrior. I haven't played any of the new ones. Have you? No.
Yeah,
I might have to check them out if I can find them cheap enough. But
next table tubes.
They basically Bahubali drags him to his own lines, but his brother's the one who gets the killing blow. So technically,
because doesn't the queen ask for him to be brought to her or something like that?
Yeah,
and he's like, oh, I got the kills. Like, yeah, but that's not what I asked for.
Right. Well, not only that, the big thing was there was a part where they were holding villagers hostage.
Yeah.
And the dude just drove his chariot right in versus Bahubali.
Oh,
who,
yeah. And he does
the bolas to make them get down.
Yeah.
So their archers could come in. So basically, it goes to him, and that's pretty much.
He does that in the second movie too.
Yeah, that's basically.
He drives the chariot through his own troops, killing a bunch of them, just to hop off of it once he reaches the enemy line. And I'm like, why did you even bring it?
Because it got 6 people. Actually, he probably killed a lot of people with that.
He killed a lot of his own people. I watched it very carefully. He killed his own soldiers aggressively. The only ones that of the enemy line that he killed was with a spear that he threw. So, why have the spinning blades in the front if you're just going to use your spear to kill the enemy and not the...
Well, it's funnier because I actually think he kills more of his own people in the second.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Right?
That's what I mean in the second battle, sorry.
Oh, yeah. So that's pretty much end of first movie. I think it pretty much ends with that battle, and, Bahubali is going to be, named to be the future kind of ruler of Mahishmati.
Yeah.
So that will conclude movie 1. Any quick thoughts on movie 1 before we go to movie 2?
My first thoughts were, fuck, it's not over. There's more.
Yeah, so definitely me not knowing
because, like
what
I said,
I was going into the first time I watched it, I was like, wait, there was no capital tree. What the fuck is this?
And for some reason I didn't realize there was a number 2 going into the first one.
I didn't either.
I watched the whole thing and it just ended, and I'm like, wait, what? What about that first story with the dude, the kid, or the what?
Right. So, yeah, my thoughts are, I was caught off guard. There was a second movie.
But you were super stoked for it.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to continue the story for sure. I thought, I definitely think that the second movie makes the first movie better, because I think if it was the first movie on its own and the second movie was a little lackluster, I wouldn't be as excited about this series, right? Just because, the son of Bahubali, he's not as likable as him, right? And I think that's kind of
he's not, because nobody knows him. He's popular by association.
Right, like he just basically climbed a waterfall. That was pretty cool. And then he just basically stalked a woman.
He stumbles into the whole situation, basically.
Right, and I know the whole situation is supposed to be a religious thing, reincarnation and all that is a big part of Hinduism belief and stuff like that. So
sure, yeah.
It might seem a little off to us, but it's it's part of their religion and culture, right? So sure. I give it a bit of a okay, we're going with this.
No, I know, so I got that part of it. That's I was like, yep, okay. Mm-hmm.
All right, so Bahubali 2, the conclusion. Oh my god, this is where it actually starts.
It doesn't even open up with them going back to the original story, being like, this is where we left off. Continue. It's just straight into that secondary story about his father.
Right, and I watched it back to back, so it was fine for me, right?
Oh yeah, if you watch it back to back, it's one fluid 6-hour journey or whatever it is.
Right, and I imagine if you watch it months apart, you're like, what is happening? And then you're like, who are you?
It's not. I watched them months apart, and I didn't have that issue actually. I did pick it up pretty quickly. And I've only watched each one once. Okay.
Yeah. This was number 6. So, and I definitely feel a number 7 is going to be near in my future. So, yeah, and I will say, again, the first movie definitely had the better musical numbers, I thought, compared to the second movie. So, yeah, the second movie opens up with... now that he's basically going to be, he's the crown prince, right? He needs to find a wife.
Yep, so, and he has to travel the land.
Yep, so him and Katapa, who's kind of his uncle, but he's like a slave kind of thing, but he's
uncle slave.
Yeah, but he's pretty much like his father figure.
Oh, yeah.
In the whole scenario.
Hardcore.
And he's probably my favorite character in the whole thing, just because
he's yeah, definitely.
He's the lawful good character.
He's the character who's there throughout.
Right, for sure. So yeah, it starts with them doing kind of a tour of the country, and he finds a woman who's a noble lord's daughter. She's like a princess of some sort. And probably honestly one of my favorite gimmicks in the entire movie is when they're invited back and Bahubali basically has to pretend to be a blithering idiot because he doesn't want to just be like, oh yeah, I'm future king, you're mine. He's like, oh no, I kind of want her to want me. And there's all sorts of funny things, he pretends not to know how to use a sword. Mariah says, love Uncle Slave. He's the best character. Yeah,
He is.
And then there's a scene where they go boar hunting on the chariots, right? And he keeps accidentally like bumping into the other guys. He gets kills before the woman.
I think he's probably the most realistic character in that whole thing because he doesn't do anything crazy.
Yeah,
he doesn't do any like crazy stunts or breaking things. He just does his sword fighting and follows, his orders and has emotional development and things like that. And there's no crazy things that happen with him that aren't.
He literally
don't feel
carries
natural.
a giant wooden door.
Yeah, but that's the best he does.
So, yeah, they win affection, but dissension. Belladeva is also trying to get the throne back. He's basically trying to get his mother to denounce him, right?
Right.
So she doesn't know what's going on with that. So he's like, oh, the woman, he loves, I'm going to ask her to marry me, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she, is like, she's a very strong, independent woman, and she's like, I don't want gifts, you're a coward, like, come here and, win me yourself. And he takes that a bit too literally, or they get very mad because, she has a mouth on her. And they send a fucking army. And maybe my favorite battle in the series, I love the scene where they're in the hallway, the Bahubali and the woman he's marrying. Oh gosh, I can't remember
the princess, whatever her name is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not Devasena. It's oh gosh. Yeah, Devasena's the mother.
It's
gosh,
okay.
I feel bad.
It's all right. It's all right.
Oh, it's Shivagami. So yeah, they're doing, she's fighting. She's literally kiting backwards and shooting, like very kind of video game logic, right?
Yeah.
And then Bahubali comes and he has one of the best lines, right? And he's just like, oh, 3 arrows. You do it backwards.
He like takes the time to like show her how to shoot 3 arrows at once very casually, and they both just do it. Taking out droves of soldiers with supreme accuracy.
It's so fucking badass. I love that scene so much. So much. And honestly, like, even though that scene's over exaggerated, like, fucking archers are OP, man.
Yeah.
So what did you think of that battle scene?
I mean, that it just, everything gets long in the tooth for me at that point with all the supreme exaggerations. I mean, the overarching story is fine. I just wish they could tell it a little bit more gracefully.
Well, what was ungraceful about it?
The extreme things that they do, that just over the top.
See, this is
and it just there was that you thought there was a roof, but then they kept piling it up.
What roof?
It just got more and more extreme.
The ridiculousness.
Yes, the ridiculousness just felt like it was getting more and more extreme. They didn't find like a comfortable spot to keep it at and keep it on that level. They just wanted to each thing they did, they wanted to top the previous.
I mean, I don't think it's that
it felt that way.
Over the top. I think it stays at a weirdness and it stays at a consistent weird. See here, what you said you were a weeb earlier. Like, anime is very much like that.
Sure. And
you're like, where the fuck does this go? And it keeps getting weirder and weirder and weirder. So I'm surprised you take it that way with that movie. Again, maybe a second view, you'll have a different opinion on it because
maybe
just the shock value, and you weren't really sure going into it. And yeah,
probably.
As Mariah said, the over the topness is what makes it, right? Like, do you like?
No,
when you watch?
You might be right. I mean, maybe if it didn't have all of that, I'd be less interested. Maybe it is what kept me in it for as long.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There was just some moments in there that I felt like that it was a little unnecessary. Like, they could have dialed down just a little bit, and it still would have been cool.
Oh no, I like the part actually because there's that other noble, right, who he's pretending to be an idiot and he's making him look awesome.
I did like that whole segment. That was fun.
Well, I was gonna say I like the scene where, you know, he's like, I need to go see her, whatever, and he's like, no, you can't, and then he just like picks up the cherry and throws it, and he thinks he's gonna like throw it at him, and then he just takes out a bunch of guard or enemy soldiers, right?
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think the over-the-topness is what makes it. Again, if you're going into it, go into the same mentality as Army of Darkness, right? It's just like nothing fucking makes sense, but you're belting in and you're just gonna wait what happens. So they get there, right? So I'm trying to remember exactly what the next thing that happens is. I think,
water everywhere.
Yeah, they do the March of the Ents, right?
Yeah.
At the end, when they break the dam, and then they destroy, you know, Isengard. Wrong movie.
Same idea.
Yeah, same idea. So they end up getting back to the palace, you know, conflict or whatever, you know, the queen regent, she is like, oh, you know, you disobey thing, and he, you know, Bella Deva ends up playing, you know, the Game of Thrones kind of thing. So Bahubali ends up getting demoted, so he ends up.
Oh yeah, but that's not that's that part, but that's not before the freaking airship, man.
Oh, all right. Well, you sound like
my biggest gripe in that whole damn thing. They're sailing back in a ship, and he jettisons the whole ship into the clouds, basically, and they just stay up there. And then they have a music number.
Yeah, so here's also my opinion. Maybe again, this is just a culture shock value with the movie. When Disney does it, do you get such strong opinions?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's fucking absurd.
See, that's when the music numbers, when it stopped being weird, and I start like, yeah, it's the same thing Disney does, right? And
yeah,
people, I feel like,
it is. I'm not into that.
Yeah, which is strange because your wife's super into it.
I know. It makes watching movies real difficult.
You're like, can we just watch, you know, something with a little more mature conflict? And she's like, but Frozen.
Verbatim.
Verbatim. So, yeah, the musical number. I didn't super care for a lot of the song in episode 2, to be honest. So I will dock some points for that. So yeah, they end up getting to the city, as I was saying. You know, Bella Deva plays some Game of Thrones-esque politics. He ends up getting Bahubali demoted, right? And he ends up, you know, being the bigger man. He's just always loyal, right? He's the John Cena of this story. He always does what's right.
Yeah.
So he ends up being commander, and
instead
Bella
of
Deva
king.
becomes king. But you know, the big conflict is like the people are like, no, we want Bahubali because he's actually like not a people killer. So
it wasn't even like that. No, we want Bahubali. They were just like cheering him on more in general. And his brother was like, I didn't want the throne. I wanted the attention and the throne.
yeah, that's actually a great way to describe it. And then, you know, he has that scene where he's looking at the crown. By the way, actually, can I just give a shout out to Rana Dagubati? He's the guy that plays Bala Deva, and I think he's probably the best actor out of all of them. He plays a very convincing heel.
Didn't you know villains always get the good lines?
They always get the good lines. I do like Prabhas. I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly. He's the one that plays Bahubali. I think he's great when he plays Bahubali. Again, you don't super care too much about the son till Bahubali's story is over, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you take... It's funny, though. If you take just the son's story Don't insert the telling of the rest of it. It's just kind of like he just shows up and like takes the crown.
I know, he's like, wow, this guy's an asshole.
Completely didn't do shit to deserve it. He just other than being born the son and, you know, being some kind of reincarnation.
Right, exactly. So yeah, so Bella, Deva, and his father, you know, are like, oh, we gotta do further, so they then, you know, politic to exile him, right? And then after that, it still wasn't enough, because now that he's exiled and he becomes a commoner, he gets more commoner support, right?
Right. He's like sitting there like helping them, and then they're feeding him, and, you know, it's all this like whole worship thing going on.
Yeah, because, you know, he actually gives a shit, right?
Yeah.
So then they're like, fuck, we gotta kill him. So that's when you enter Katapa again, who's he's probably my favorite character in the whole thing, right? And the thing is, he's, you know, super lawful good. He always has to obey the throne, right? So they use him as a person to kill him, and it's this huge emotional thing, right? Too, because, you know, Bahubali is like, I don't have a father, so you got to be the first one to hold the child, right? And all that, and
right.
They do a great job. I think out of all the chemistry in the movie, I believe between those two characters is the most strong. Like you're like, they are bros, and when you learn that Katapa is the person that kills Bahubali at the end of the first movie,
you're like, what? Why?
How did it come to that? And
right.
I do think eventually when it does happen, you're like, I guess that makes sense, right?
Yeah, I was waiting for the moment where like he like inadvertently leads him to his death, or, you know, and then blames himself, or these other things. He literally does kill him from orders from the king, because orders from the queen mother, or whatever they call her in it, because the brother, who is the king, staged it so it looked like Bahubali was trying to have him killed.
Right, because they used the guy who was the noble of the family, who he was putting over strong to win, who is now his wife.
Anyway,
they end up tricking him. Basically using him as a scapegoat. Yeah,
framing him for an attempt at murder, and then blaming Bahubali for the attempt at all.
Yeah,
saying that, you see, he wants the throne.
And it's interesting, because I feel like around the time in the movie, you're like, fuck, I'm actually invested in these characters. Right?
You spend enough time with them.
Like, it's funny, because I was watching both these with Nicole at the time, and by about that time I noticed Nicole's really funny to watch stuff with, because you can tell she's interested in based on how much she's looking on her phone. And at that point, she had her phone completely down. She was all in. I was like, are you all in on this? Because, like, I feel like all of a sudden this movie's getting really intense. She's like, yeah, it's. I think actually it was at the part where he got exiled. That was the part we got really, really into it. And
then because before that, everything's just kind of goes his way.
Mm-hmm.
So when things start to turn for him, it's more like, oh, all right.
yeah, and it's storytelling in the most simple. You have your good guy, you have your bad guy. You know, and you just put over your bad guy really strong, and you just want to see his ass get kicked. And I think, to the credit, when it does eventually get to that point, when they go back to the original story, the current timeline, you're like, yes, fucking take this asshole down. I am so ready. Let's do this.
Yeah, because you don't, at the beginning, he just seems like a dick, but like you're like, okay, he's a dick. All right. You don't feel as mad at the dude, you know? Because you don't have the history.
Yeah, but
great
scene.
Yeah. No, I got nothing.
No, I was just gonna say, great scene with Katapa, you know, basically saying, let me die, but Bob too much that he won't leave him, and while he's alive, he still has to carry out that order.
Right.
So he was trying to get him.
He's trying to save him, basically, from himself.
Yeah. So.
And they ends up stabbing him.
Yep. So then we move over to, again, the current timeline. And yeah, as I was saying, you're just like, when it's there, you're like, oh my god, let's take this dude out.
From then on, I think it's basically just like they finish the story and he gets all the citizens and stuff together to basically form an army to just go straight into that last battle.
Yeah, because at this point, the only people that are loyal to Beladeva, because Bahubali has encountered multiple factions at this point, right?
Yeah.
You know, the tribes he grew up with.
We're talking about the original Bahubali's son now.
Yeah, Shiva. Is it Shivagu? Yeah, it's Shivudu. That's the full name, but I think they call him Shiva. So, which is
because they don't know that he's Bahubali at that point.
Right. So
he was raised by a completely different family.
He basically has all the commoners minus the professional army of Mahishmati. Also, can I just say, like, one of the most brutal scenes in the first movie was when they're doing the Mahishmati music number. Also, can I say that's an score where it's like dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Awesome, like, you know, kind of, gosh, what's it called? A score that they kind of play consistently throughout the movie because they do that. But there's like a scene where it's just like a scene of those guards just being complete assholes.
Yeah.
They're just like whipping like 17 people in the streets. Just relentless.
Craziness. Uh-oh. He froze. He's done.
Hey, what happened?
So, that was fun. There you are. You froze for like a good 30 seconds. What happened?
Oh yeah, sorry. I just lost internet for a split second. So, we're gonna jump right back into it.
Yep.
So, yeah, they're ready to go take back Mahishmati.
Yep.
So, they have, you know, this awesome battle, right? But he ends up hiding behind the wall, right? That's the first thing that kind of happens. And then we get the scene that I originally watched the movie for, and that is the tree catapult. So again, let's
another ridiculous moment.
Well, let's put on our DM hats for a second.
That's like a series of natural 20s, just a string of them, because a regular DM would be like, no, there's no way that it's a really high roll. They'd get like a nat 20 with a bonus plus 8 to their acrobatics, you know?
But I think actually one of the funniest parts is when they make it and they show the reinforcements coming over the wall, they just show some of the people that are forming shields just hit the wall and just shatter. That was hilarious.
They do. They okay, so these soldiers, they get in like this little circle of shields, and then they catapult themselves as that circle, and then they just collide with shit like cannonballs, but they roll out of it like, yeah, whatever, and just start chopping at people, even if they hit like a solid structure.
No, well, some of them didn't even make it. A lot of them died getting over. Or trying to get
presumably.
Over. No, yeah, like, unless they fell into the moat and then they're like, oh, let's try again, which I don't think happens. But anyways, so they eventually open the gate, and Beladeva comes out with his chariot, and he does your favorite gimmick, killing your own guys to kill, like, one of the enemy.
Yep.
And I have to say, though, I think not the battle part that likes it. I like the one-on-one fight that Bahubali and Beladeva have. And
well, that's the climax, you know?
Right, like there's an awesome scene where he's riding his chariot, Bahubali has a spear, they're both about to launch each other. You have this awesome, like, still shot that's, like, very 300-esque right before they're about to throw. And I can just tell the creator of this loved, like, the Frank Frazetta Conan the Barbarian, like, comic series and art, because so many of the scenes in this fight were, like, could have been directly pulled from that. And yeah, that whole fight is just awesome. I think you know, you don't need Academy Awards. You don't need, Best Actor. Sometimes you just need two big, meaty men slapping meat.
Yeah.
And I think it worked, right? And there's all sorts of stuff that happens. There's the ritual fire and bringing it there. And actually, I think the final scene is a great amount of justice, right? Like, the captured queen, she's building the pyre, right? And she's like, this is going to be your grave. And lo and behold, his knee gets pinned into the ground, right?
Right in the middle of it.
Yeah, oh god. I cringed at that part. And then she just drops the flame right in there.
Yeah, just drops the fiery coals right in, and he just burns to death. Yeah.
And you know what? It felt good. It felt good. I think after all that...
I found a GIF of the shield catapult. I don't know if it's gonna play on the stream, but I'm gonna throw it up right now. So let's see. Here it is. Okay, watch this. This is what he does. And he chops the thing, and they fly through the air at like ungodly speeds. And then they mesh in together into the little ball, and then they just collide with the ground.
Oh,
and
Billy,
get up like, yeah.
Question. Every time someone subscribes, can we have this GIF play?
We absolutely can.
Because I think it's essential to our survival.
Yeah, I can make that happen.
Oh my gosh, I need to learn how to edit a GIF too. Like, we could make it say like subscription where the catapult is, and then over the could be table troop. Oh my god. Great ideas. This movie could honestly be just a giant GIF machine, to be honest.
It is. It really could be, yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised this movie hasn't been memed more, to be honest, but I don't think a lot of people have seen it. So
yeah, anyway, so he dies in a little pit of wood and fire and screaming.
Yeah, some solid justice, One thing... I guess you're talking a little bit about inconsistencies. I do think that the writing is very consistent, though.
Yeah, sure. I guess my issue with inconsistencies is in the representation of
the power.
So in that last fight, okay, here's a specific example. I mean, they're doing all sorts of crazy shit. They're obviously flying through the air in catapults. They're he's slamming his hammer, his maul into Bahubali's shield, and it's causing the ground beneath him to like shatter and crack and stuff like that. Like, wow, they could take a beating, right? And then at one point, the king has him pinned to the ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
By like getting like something stabbed into his hand. And he can't like lift that up right away. I mean, he eventually goes and unpins his hand. I'm like, really? You're like destroying shit, throwing wagons, and like that little thing in your hand is gonna keep you pinned.
Well, I mean, you gotta assume that the strength of the other guy is so deep into the stone.
Yeah, but he's not holding it. Oh, it wasn't. It wasn't. He just snapped it right off when he decided to do it eventually.
So I have a question. If this was anime, would you be having?
Would I what?
Would you be having these gripes if this was anime?
It depends on the execution. I might have the same complaint. It depends.
So yeah, no, it's again, that's interesting, and I think that's time for another conversation. I would actually like to review an anime at some point in time.
Naruto. No.
or an anime. Yeah, I don't have enough time. Like pixeling that stays within like the 3 to 4 season realm, maybe.
We'll think about that. We'll have a discussion on it.
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, the end comes pretty quick. Shibadu becomes crown prince, and you get a cool little stamp at the end of the movie, a cool little screenshot, and credits roll. So, what did we think of Bahubali 2 compared to the first movie, and what are your overall thoughts?
You thought it was God's gift to the world.
Mm-hmm. I still stand by that.
I think, okay, I not my favorite movies, personally. However, it's really good for the genre. And despite my complaints of the inconsistencies in the CGI and some of the other weird stuff, it's okay.
So I think maybe this is another way to look at it, where the way I'm seeing this movie is not necessarily as a cinematic masterpiece. I'm looking at it as how much entertainment did this movie bring me. Right. You know, sometimes in pro wrestling, two guys don't have the best, match of all time. But
I know what you're saying.
It's interesting and it progresses the story. And I think that is probably the proper mentality you have to have watching these movies.
Can be. So I think it caters to your taste more than it does to mine, is what it boils down to.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm not yucking your yum at all, not by any degree. I'm just saying it's maybe not my alley.
Right.
But it wasn't bad.
I think you're in the minority of this one, because I know
I am. Everyone that you've showed it to loves it. I know I'm the outlooker here, and that I need to get my shit straight. But at least I'm honest about it.
But here's also the thing too, is maybe give it a second view. You don't have to do it anytime soon.
Ooh.
Just if you're in for a snow day, if you're quarantined.
I'll tell you what I'll do. And here's how we'll really figure out if I'm nutso. I will, during a snow day, as you mentioned, which I don't really get, but we'll find a way to make it work. I'll sit down with Stephanie and make her watch it.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
I think that'll be a good decider right there. If she likes it, then I'll be like, all right, maybe I'm just being too harsh on it.
See, I don't think Steph would like it either.
She might not, but maybe she would. You don't know, right?
Mm-hmm. Right, and also, maybe it's also,
it has some musical numbers. That's part Disney right there.
Yeah,
floating ship with horses and birds in the clouds, like, boom, done.
Yeah, and here's the thing is also, maybe I'm a bit more open to it because I've watched a lot more foreign cinema lately. Like, I've absolutely loved Kingdom. I think we both watched Kingdom, which that'd be a great fireside chat. Did you watch second season?
I don't think I finished it yet.
Oh, Kingdom's really good. I watched a French series called Black Spot, which I really liked. I watched another French TV show called Into the Night, which was also pretty good. We both watched Dark fairly recently.
Dark was amazing.
Dark was phenomenal. And I feel like there have just been a bunch more foreign films. Train to Busan I also watched recently. I've been reading a lot of Junji Ito lately. I'm pretty much going through his entire library, to be honest, slowly at this rate. So my brain is more accustomed to foreign stuff. I wonder if you watched a few more Bollywood films, because I think also just one of the big things is there's a cultural gap.
There is. They have a certain style that they kind of go with, and it's just because that's how it is. Yep,
and I'm sure, people in that part of the world would watch,
some of our stuff.
Movies that we hold in high regard, and they'd be like, wait, really? Cringe, right?
Right.
Why doesn't the Hulk just simply win? Well, because then the movie's over.
Right.
So, yeah. I'll give my final thoughts on it. I love this series. Like I said, favorite movie since quarantine. I imagine I'm going to keep loving this movie. There is an anime for it that I've been trying to hunt down.
There is?
There's an anime. Yes, there is. I don't know how to watch it, but I totally want to do it. I need to own copies of this movie for my personal library as well.
You should go out of your way, fly out to India, have the actors sign it.
Dude, you want to actually, so in this kind of whole thing of like digging into like Bollywood, and I'm like, what other gems am I missing? I learned there is a lost episode of Johnny Bravo. India apparently loves Johnny Bravo, so they made a cartoon of him coming to India, and I need to find it. Cartoon Network keeps banning it and taking it down from the internet.
Wow.
But apparently,
so it's one of those
somewhere.
things you gotta go to the dark web just to get it.
I know. I've never been to the dark web before, but man, oh man, I kind of want to. I feel like that's worth it. Right.
Wow. Right.
So yeah, no, and it's great, and I think there's a lot of great stuff out there to watch that isn't necessarily part of Hollywood, and I think that there's also a lot of really good movies who are being made by foreigners in Hollywood. I just watched a movie called His House on Netflix last night.
His House?
Yeah, it's called His House. It's a horror movie about two refugees who escaped from a war-torn African country, and they're settling in London, and both of them have super PTSD about what happened, and you get really empathetic for the characters on what they had to go through, and they use a really cool twist on that for horror and all that. But again, it's a cultural difference. Like, people be like, why? That's stupid, right? You know what I mean? That's so unrealistic, but I don't know, maybe I have more of an empathy to it, and I'm a bit more open-minded, but that's not saying anything against you. It's just I think I've been exposed a bit more. I open up my heart a little more to certain things.
Oof. Do you?
To an extent. I just hate anime.
I think it's just a difference of taste. I don't think it's you being more exposed than me, because I've seen a lot of cinema, and you know that.
It's true. How much
like I said,
cinema?
It's a fair amount, actually. I can't name any off the top of my head. I don't have a prepared list like you, and it's been.
Well, it wasn't
been a while.
List. That was just off the top of my head.
Okay. I've seen a fair amount of foreign cinema. A lot of it is Asian films. Not a lot of Indian stuff. But there's been a couple. Can't recall the names off the top of my head. A couple of shows and movies from Germany. I think at least one French film. Something from Spain on Netflix that I watched recently. What the hell was it called? It was silly. But yeah, I do watch a lot.
So yeah, I think still my overall thought, give it a second view if you still feel the same way. That's that. It is a difference of taste. I think if you'll walk away with it a little bit better than when you first watched it. And that's
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. So that really concludes it. So we're skipping next week. We're taking a holiday break from our main streams. But what do you want to do for next one? I forced you to watch a 5.5 hour long movie, technically. So I think we've had a couple of thoughts, right? We've talked on this. One of the options is cooking. One of them is music. I think we're trying to go a little bit more broad, right? Right, yeah, we'll do something a bit more broad. But I do like doing a film or a TV series once in a while, because
sure, yeah,
it's fun breaking down the movies. You seemed a little worried that you weren't going to be able to guide the conversation, yet here we are, an hour long, right?
Yeah.
So don't be down on yourself. So yeah, so you can pick next.
All right. I don't have. I'm gonna think on it. We've got a couple of weeks. I think the next one. So as we mentioned, next week, the 23rd, we're taking that. The week the 23rd through the 27th. We're not doing any scheduled streaming, so we won't be doing Firesides or D&D, unfortunately. However, that we still will be open to just casual game streaming. When we feel like it. And then the next one will probably be on the 30th of November 30th.
Yeah,
so stay tuned. We'll announce something shortly once we have something, selected.
Yeah, for sure. But those who tuned in, everyone have a good and safe holiday, whatever you're doing.
Indeed.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.